Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monday live stream. There's a ton of things to go over, so let's just jump right into it. So today, as the thumbnail and title suggest, we're taking a look at what is going on with the market, what is moving the market, as always. But then we're going to take a look at some at-odds data. We're going to take a look at how Ethereum is getting shorted by its, I think, one of the highest ones it's been in the last 3 times over the life of Ethereum. And then we're going to take a look at just what the market is doing. So first of all, welcome. I appreciate everybody coming by. And just in the chats before we even started, it was pretty good. There's a lot of things that I like to see. I think Solstice here says shorts are up 500%. That's pretty bad. And then we've had some other people who have some other views, like Mr. Ted Goody says, markets chase liquidity. Heavy longs or shorts could spell a squeeze or a trap. And that's really what it comes down to. So we don't know what the market's going to do. This is just what it's doing today. So the first thing, if you haven't noticed this, we've got a lot of different sayings about tariffs. And tariffs, it seems like, is one of those different types of talkings and happenings which really spooked the market. And we had, not too long ago, I want to say about 10 days ago or so, we had President Trump talk and say that he was going to tariff Canada and Mexico. Of course, that got shot down with them helping to secure the borders and limiting the amount of illegals that come in as far as fentanyl coming in. Great stuff. So they put a moratorium on that for 30 days. And then, of course, we have something like this. Trump announces a blanket tariff on steel and aluminum, reciprocal tariffs in other countries. Now, I got to tell you, when Mexico and Canada came into the mix and everybody was freaking out about that, it wasn't really surprising. The market, if you haven't guessed already, is pretty irrational, and they're very skittish about what's happening. And of course, you know, this is the tariffs, what's going on there. However, on a good note, Japanese Prime Minister announces $1 trillion American investment at the press conference. So we have some countries that are playing ball, some countries that are not, and maybe it'll all be done in the wash. But I will say, it's interesting that the Japanese Prime Minister announces that $1 trillion investment, probably to avoid some tariffs, maybe build some factories here in the United States like they actually already have. But this was actually just today, Japan to scrap the ban on Bitcoin ETFs. So looks like Bitcoin ETFs are coming in, which is more liquidity to come into the market. And taxes on crypto assets, I did not know this. Japan has taxes of up to 55%, which now they're going to reduce that to 20%. Why would you dabble into crypto if you were in Japan? It just seems like a big cash grab for the government. So that is a good thing that is coming on. So what does the market respond to all this news? Pretty positive. I could have sworn the markets would start to crumble just a little bit, especially with talks of tariffs out of China and that coming into effect, steel and aluminum. And then, of course, today, the S&P 500 is looking pretty good. It's actually up almost a full point. If you take a look over 5 days, not too bad. 1 month, okay. 6 month, and then a year, it's looking pretty great so far. And, of course, the crypto markets, which you know already, because you've been probably taking a look at your portfolio, we're still below 100K, but not too shabby for what's going on. So those are just the price action. And this can only tell us what's happening in the short term, really, you know, what's going on behind the scenes. This is where we dig into it. So first of all, I thought this was pretty interesting what's happening. During this whole time that we had a sell-off recently, over the weekend, last week, I picked this up that Tether inflows to exchanges surged to 2.7 billion during the recent Bitcoin price drop to 90K. Now, is that a level of support? If you're into TA and trading, you will note that, yes, that is one of those levels. But I just found it interesting that you had a massive surge of Tether just sitting around. Here's what happened. A week ago, Bitcoin crashed to nearly 91,000 as trade war fears gripped the market, just like we talked about. Mexico, Canada, China, what's going to happen? India, who knows? On the same day, centralized exchanges registered a net inflow of 2.72 billion in Tether. Why is there such a big inflow? It's pretty simple. USDT net flows in exchanges reached the 3rd highest level ever, recording exceeding 2.7 billion. This surge results from a combination of factors: traders depositing additional collateral to manage margin calls, especially when they're on leverage and people get wiped out. That's how it goes. But like we just heard, from one of the in the comments. Where was it? Markets chase liquidity. Traders deposit additional collateral, manage margin calls, and prevent liquidations on underwater positions alongside significant buy the dip activities, particularly focused on Bitcoin. So when we take a look at that, we're like, okay, so that means that's a positive, right? We've got people who are covering their long and shorts. That's great. Other people who are putting Tether in there and they want to buy up this dip. I don't know who keeps buying this stuff. Me personally, I just been sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. I did the bulk of my buying in the bear market. I am stopping buying the dip for right now. I don't have to do anything. That's what's great about doing things when it's hard. You don't have to do squat as time moves on. So we have that piece. So that's positive. But then we got this. Ethereum shorts on CME increased 500% in the last 3 months. So on one side, you got people pretty bullish on Bitcoin, looks like, but on the other side, Ethereum. But you can't have one without the other. If you start to short Ethereum and things go down, everything goes down as well, at least number 2 all the way down to 2,000. So here's what we have on this one. Hedge funds have ramped their short positions on Ethereum. The surge in short bets comes despite a notable increase in capital flow into spot Ethereum ETFs. And 9 US spot Ethereum ETFs saw net inflows of $420 million, significantly outpaced 204 million inflows recorded by their Bitcoin counterparts. And that's the interesting thing. And this is where I think that most of the market is just a little ADHD. They're just trying to bounce around and see what it is and feel out the markets and see where they go. So you've got on one side, massive amounts of Tether coming in. And that was 2.7 billion on Ethereum. I know people think Ethereum's dead, but you don't see a lot of people trading around Bitcoin, pretty much buying and holding, selling off at some points. But if you're looking for to take profits, what do a lot of these hedge funds and institutions do? They stick into Tether. And for some reason, they love to use Ethereum. It says right here, 2.72 billion on Ethereum alone. So we've got, on one side, they're shorting. On one side, they're buying massive amount of ETFs. Look at this. ETFs, and you got the usual suspects, the BlackRocks, Fidelity's, Bitwise, 21 shares. This is over time. This isn't the whole thing. But the total, which you can see on the bottom right-hand corner, this is in millions. Total is still positive, 3.182. And you can see the majority, the lion's share, is BlackRock buying. And the majority, unfortunately, Grayscale at 3.9 is selling. At some point, Grayscale won't have anything else to sell. They're going to get to be too low. But you can see that these inflows over the last week, 4th of February, you had $276 million come in on the 4th of February. That's where the big influx came in. So you've got, again, ETFs looking good, people shorting on the side. What about Bitcoin ETFs? Oh, yeah, we are at an all-time high of total net Bitcoin flows. We actually talked about this yesterday. So, we've got people out there they just want to see where they can get into. It's just kind of hectic right now. And I understand that how people are a little bit off as to what they see in the market and what they feel like they should be doing. But again, like I've always said, just stick around. I think things are going to work out all right. But then there's this piece about what is a utility and what are we actually using this for? When Bitcoin came in, if you ever have read the white paper, it's a peer-to-peer transactions. That's what Bitcoin was created for. It wasn't for a hedge against inflation. It wasn't for gold 2.0. It wasn't a store of value. It was peer-to-peer transactions. And that's what it was supposed to be. However, with new technology, things change. We don't really know what we're going to use it for. So with that one, I think the narrative as far as Bitcoin being a payment medium of exchange, I just can't get on board with it right now. It just doesn't seem like that's the case. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to have massive institutions just scooping up like MicroStrategy and just holding it, and it becomes gold. And here's an example. This is from two people in paradise. Two Canadian newlyweds that moved to El Salvador for freedom and Bitcoin. And this is anecdotal. This is just one person's experience, right? So don't extrapolate this to the entire market. But they said how quickly things change. Landlords in El Salvador are not only refusing to accept Bitcoin, even when it's auto-converted to USD, they seem also to be rejecting tenants who use Bitcoin at all. When will the Bitcoin community look in the mirror and ask, where do we go wrong? I don't know if it's about where do we go wrong. I think it's like where the market says they're going. Now, in El Salvador, as I understood it, you had to accept that as legal tender. So I don't know what's going on in this post. But apparently what they're saying is like, it's not that they won't accept Bitcoin. It looks like they're saying that they don't accept anybody who's dealing in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and digital assets. Even Dan Held here says, sounds like using Bitcoin for payments had exactly a little protocol market fit. Who would have thought it? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it's just one of those things where I think if you want to really be concrete about what this is, when you talk about this is like a medium of exchange, I just really don't think that's what people are using it for. I think people are buying and holding. I don't think a lot of people, the majority, are using this for peer-to-peer transactions. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comment section. But I just want to throw that in there just to get just read the temperature of the room and see what people think. But there is good news. MicroStrategy bought more Bitcoin. Looks like they bought 7,633, yield of 4.1%. And they hold almost, they hold almost 500,000 Bitcoin. You know, it's only 21 million, right? And then we lost, what, 6 million? So, like I said, I just don't see this as a medium of exchange anymore. I just don't. But on top of that, I think institutions will come in, businesses will come in, they'll scoop it up. MicroStrategy was Data Analytics Center, and now, of course, they're not even called MicroStrategy, they're called Strategy B. They are essentially a proxy for Bitcoin. And this is exactly what happened to MetaPlanet. MetaPlanet is a business in Japan. Go figure. They have a market cap of 1.5 billion, the best performing stock out of 55,000 in the world. Announced that their hotel business operating profits grew 44% last year. Here's how they did it. It wasn't because they got a great hotel. Maybe they do, I don't know. But they underwent a strategic transformation from a hotel-focused business to a Bitcoin treasury company. Where did you hear that before? Oh yeah, right over there. With a new Bitcoin first strategy announced on April 8th, 2024. Wow, less than a year, and they're up big time. Why won't other businesses do this? Fiscal year 2023 reflect the hotel-only business, while fiscal year 2024 marks the first year operating on the Bitcoin strategy. They are allocating approximately 5% of funds raised to this strategy on an ongoing basis. So 5% of everything they raise is going into Bitcoin, which is a pretty good idea, especially with the rate of appreciation of Bitcoin itself as people buy and hold and use it as that gold 2.0. Hotel businesses where we continue to operate. A Tokyo hotel that is in the process of being renovated into the Bitcoin hotel. Maybe they'll start accepting it there, but we'll see. So again, when I take a look at these, it is kind of weird what we thought Bitcoin would be and where Bitcoin is going. Like this is from Bitcoin treasuries. I want you to see that as far as like who owns what, pretty soon this is going to be rapidly 25%. Right now you're looking at around 10%, but ETFs hold 6.5% almost. Countries, 2.5%, if you believe that number, might be more. Public companies is only 3%. Private, 1.75%, Bitcoin mining companies, and DeFi, 0.73%. And here's where it all breaks them down. MicroStrategy, 471,000, 2.24%. That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit. So we'll see where it is. And as a reminder, this Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, we now have more states. Not that they've approved it, but they put on the docket to debate throughout their different state levels of Congress to push this in or push this through or not. And then hopefully when that comes through, then maybe we'll get a Strategic Reserve all the way through. And just to reiterate one last point, because I was talking pretty hardly about Bitcoin not being a medium of exchange or for payments at all. But if this comes to fruition, and this was actually, we talked about this January 30th, Tether brings its 140 billion stablecoins to Bitcoin and Lightning. If they do this, then everything goes up. But we'll see if it actually comes to fruition because again, like Lightning has its limitations, but this is on the horizon. So all these things that we talked about are great and it's looking pretty good. But as a reminder, I know people wanted the the bull run right now, but the things that are happening in the background, especially with government moving forward, it's going to take time. And unfortunately, David Sachs laid it out pretty well on the All In podcast. This is about 2 minutes or so, where he says pretty much things are going to take about 6 months to really get going. So I want you to listen to this, then we'll get into a little Q&A after that. Let me bring this up. Take a listen to this, about 2 minutes.
Maybe because digital assets can be many things.
Yeah.
You can have some digital assets are cryptocurrencies. They're actually currencies. Then there's things that are crypto securities. Then there's things that are commodities. Bitcoin actually is regulated as a commodity right now. And then you've got things that aren't securities or commodities, or like collectibles, like NFTs, things like that. So there's all these different categories. And one of the things that the market needs is just clarity around the definitions so that founders know what the rules of the road are and they can actually just comply with them. So giving them those definitions and describing how a crypto project could start, for example, as a security, and eventually the protocol could become decentralized enough or maybe it becomes a commodity. That whole idea, that's called market structure. And there was a bill in the last Congress by French Hill, who is the chair of the House Financial Services Committee now, that passed the House with 71 Democratic votes. So it was fairly bipartisan, but then it went nowhere in the Senate because, frankly, the banking committee at that time was run by Sherrod Brown, who is anti-crypto. So it got stopped in the Senate right away. Now we have Republican control of the Senate, and Tim Scott's the new chair of the Senate Banking Committee, and he's expressed support. So I think now we could get a bill on market structure like Fit 21, again, which was French Hill's bill last Congress. I think we could do a revised and updated version this Congress. And that was one of the things the chairman expressed support for. So I think there's a pretty good chance we could get this done in the next 6 months.
What's the opposition, Sachs? I guess it feels to me like with the market structure question being addressed and answered, you would have also more protection for consumers because now businesses know the rules of the road. They follow them, the structure that protects consumers, et cetera, et cetera. Why would people be opposed to moving this forward, moving the legislation forward, getting this all behind us?
Well, I think this is an area where there's a really good chance of having bipartisan support. We did in the last Congress, like I mentioned, that the House bill got over 70 Democratic votes. I think in the Senate, we're going to need 7 votes, seven Democrat votes to get to 60, right? Which is the number you need if you don't go through the reconciliation process. And I think there's a good chance this passes with significant Democratic support as well as Republican. It's not going to be unanimous or anything like that because there are still forces that are hostile to crypto in Washington. And
that is true. Hopefully we'll get them wiped away as time goes on, but there's still going to be people that are against that, and that's just normal and par for the course. That's it for today. So look, like today's video, give a thumbs up, consider subscribing. Everything we talk about is time sensitive. Now, let's do a little Q&A and get into it. Chop, chop. All right, let's see here. There's a good one. Raise your hand if this is you. Mean Gene Oakland. This cycle has made me a Bitcoin maxi. Who here has really gone heavy into Bitcoin this cycle? I got to tell you, my first cycle, I started with Bitcoin, then I went to Ethereum, XRP, down the list, until I was like all altcoined out. And it was pretty brutal because I didn't sell any of it. 2018, I was like, this is going to go up. And of course, that didn't happen. And I figured it out better in 2021. I did more Bitcoin. This one was much, much, much heavier Bitcoin. And I still have alts, but I'm still not a Bitcoin maxi only. That's the only thing I can get into. I still think that there's a utility for other projects that are out there. There's a utility for blockchain. I mean, heck, even David Sachs talked about putting the entire government of the buying and the purchasing and putting that on the blockchain so it can be audited. Essentially what Doge is doing. Imagine that. You could be a U.S. citizen and looking at line by line what is being bought by the U.S. government. And if you haven't understood how much that waste, fraud, and abuse was going on, just sign up for X or Twitter and go through that. And it's pretty brutal. So yeah, me these days, Bitcoin's pretty big. Not everything, but I've become definitely much more. I want to know if everybody else is like that, or if everybody's just like, nope, altcoins only. And as you're writing that, Mean Gene says, Rob, if you were buying right now, assuming you already have a big Bitcoin position, would you add more to your alt bags or add a bit more to Bitcoin? You know, these days, as you get more and more into it, I never understood. I didn't understand this in 2017. I got a little more in 2020, but I understand it right now, or as I've come into this bull market. We had high expectations, right, for altcoins. Don't deny it. We all did. And, you know, I was just ready to, I mean, I foregoed these massive gains, because I know, like, when I talk about an altcoin or I talk about Bitcoin, or even like an altcoin, like, you know, in the top 5, people are like, why would you do that? Because, you know, what can you do? Like a 2x or a 4x on that? Who gives it? Who cares? On this meme coin, I can do 100x or 10x. How many of you have tried to do that and just didn't work out? I'm sure there's a lot of it. So for me, when I think about like risk versus reward these days, like, there's a lot more reward going into a meme coin. Like, you know, Dave Portnoy just put out, what is it? Stool Presidente or Stool Prison Dente. It's funny. And of course, you could have made a bunch of boatload of money. But I mean, how many other 10,000, 100,000 that are just worthless? So for me, I just say, well, what's more important to me? Is it a 2x? That's nice, right? Or is it a negative 90%? Which one what would you like more? Or which one's more likely? A 2x or a 1.5x? Or a 50% drawdown in your altcoins? I think you have to ask yourself that. And for me right now, I'm not buying anything. So, but if someone said, here's $1 million, what are you going to do with this? I'd probably put a bulk of it onto Bitcoin, because I made that mistake in 2020. And then I would probably start doing loans for real estate. And that's pretty much about it right now. Unless there's some great project out there that someone can convince me. Yeah. Bodan says, honestly, anything over 2x is good for me. I think we get spoiled in the digital asset space because we're used to seeing those crappy posts where people are like, yeah, I did a 10x on this, or a 50x on this, or I got an airdrop and I did a 4x or whatever. And we see that and we're like, oh, that's cool. But what you don't see is the flip side of that coin, where they're like, yeah, I bought 10 other meme coins, and those all went to zero. Or I'm underwater by like 50 to 99%. So like you're really even. But yeah, I think a 2x, if you come from traditional markets, you know how big that is. And that's why like meme reminds me, which is I should be, you know, we talk about this all the time. And it served me well. I don't know if it's worked out for everybody, but just taking those profits, the hardest thing you can possibly do, I think. But once you start doing it, it gets much, much easier. So yeah. Yeah, JB's right. Sailor owning all this Bitcoin isn't a good thing. You know, it's a good thing that his company keeps buying. That's a big push. And I don't think without Michael Saylor kind of pushing that initiative forward with the clout that he does, I don't know if it will. And first of all, I don't want to put Michael Saylor on this pedestal. We did the same thing with a lot of bad people, and they end up being like the worst. I'm not saying Michael Saylor is that, but I don't think we should put anybody on a pedestal like they're like the greatest of all time. He's done some good things. I'm very happy what he's done with Bitcoin and being the evangelist that he is. Let's move forward. Yeah. Imagine what would happen if like the MicroStrategy lost the keys access to their wallets. Well, that would be a problem, because it wouldn't be just MicroStrategy or Strategy B. It would also be Coinbase, because then they screwed up. And if Coinbase screws up and they get hacked or something happens because they're the ones that are custodying that, then that means that BlackRock's holdings are also been compromised. And that means that we have no market. That's the end of this market, if that ever happened. All right. Let's see. DeFi. Those 10Xs in one bag had to come from someone else's bags Watch out for your bag. Someone else. Yeah, exactly. And you know, another thing about all these meme coins, you know that most of them are just started by VCs, right? So like everybody complains about like Solana being a meme coin, and I'm like that's what all the VCs are doing with meme coins. They're just sucking the liquidity out of that and putting it into their yachts or whatever they buy. I don't know. So, but yeah, DeFi Duran's got a good point. Watch out for your bags because someone's after it. JKP says, hi, Rob, there needs to be wide adoption. From all the people I know, only 4 people know and have something in crypto. The rest of the people are simply not interested at all. That is true. I think we need actual real utility. And before people say, well, I use it for DeFi. Yeah, but you're just buying the same useless tokens, aren't we? Like I see the use case for Bitcoin, right? There's no nation state. Nobody controls it. It's borderless. It's trustless. It's decentralized. Nobody can manipulate it. And it's not controlled, like I said, like by any government or any Federal Reserve or bank, central bank. So in that situation by itself, great. The other stuff, I mean, Solana is great if you want to buy a bunch of gambling tokens. It is great. And then, I don't know, man. Like also I can see like Helium Mobile and World Mobile Token. Gotcha. Also for like DePIN projects, totally understand. For Aether, to actually give people compute or the computational power by renting out GPUs and being able to pay for that in the token, gotcha. But for some of this stuff, I'm like, do we really need that? I guess it's the same thing as people because I'm old and I remember before the internet, and people are like, do we really need the internet? Do we really need an email, an electronic mail? I can write a letter and send it in the post office. We don't need this stuff. And now, of course, here we are. So, oh damn! The ignorance of crypto is why. Imagine trying to get Gen Xers into crypto; they barely know how to work smartphones. Yeah, I mean, it's that, and gosh, just to on-ramp people to use Tether, or to use USDC, or to use Leo, or to use any kind of stable coin. You're like, okay, well, here's another one. I think that's why people, most of them use Ethereum, even though the fees are outrageous. It's because when you get a stable coin, you want to transfer to somebody. Usually it's just, and this is not, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about the people just coming in. Like, oh, I just use Ethereum. Okay, why the hell was it $15 to send $100? Doesn't make any sense. Now, if you're a big baller and a big VC, and you're like, wow, it only cost me $15 to send $10 million. That's pretty good. I like that. But to use like other rails and things like that, if you show them, it's easy. But before you're like, why am I using USDC or, Tether? Well, actually, why am I using USDC on Base when I can just use it on Ethereum? Because the fees are so high. Well, how do I do that? Well, you got to go into COINBASE. Well, you got to sign up for an account. Okay, I got that. Now what? I got to link your bank account. Okay, now what? Well, now you got to either use a debit or your bank account or direct withdrawal. You can do a wire transfer that's $20. Let me get this straight. You want me to spend $20 for wire transfer to send to an exchange so I can get a crypto, so I can send a stable coin, which is backed by $1 to somebody, and then I have to pay another $15. So $35 plus the time? Why the hell am I doing that? These are the frictions that we're talking about, right? I know everybody else in the chat, you guys are like, that's not how it goes. It's super simple for you. But think of the people, the 95% of people that just don't do that and don't know how to do it. There needs to be a simpler way, I think. You got this generation wrong. Yeah, try teaching them about exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly. Bodan, those using ETH as a crime, those fees are going to go into someone's pockets. This is why I think it's so skewed towards, these large players of the game, these large institutions, because they're like, that's not bad. I got to spend $15 and move a couple million. No big deal. And no one's going to question it? Oh, even better. KYC and AML? Huh? I'm just kidding. Of course, you have to do that everywhere. Let's see. Antug says, I was heavy ETH. Makes me wish I was all on XRP or Bitcoin. I will say this to Ant and everybody else. Like, how many of you wrote off XRP? And look, one of the biggest plays of mid 2024 to today, and everybody wrote it off because of Gary Gensler, who is now fired. So I mean, you never know. ETH could come out, and I think it's just one massive partnership away from mass adoption. And hopefully they get rid of most of the layer 2s. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe we need them all for something. I have no idea. But it seems like the more layer 2s we get, the more it extrapolates all the different liquidity and puts them into their chains so they can get paid with their fees and then kick back a little sum to the Ethereum Foundation. It just doesn't seem like it's really needed. Hey, I'm Gen X. This one Gen X tried to tell me sending wire transfers is better than USDC because it goes to your bank. Gen X's are lost. This tech isn't for them. You know, it is interesting though. Like, if you have somebody's, I mean, you can send anybody. If you have their bank account and their right number, you can send anybody anything. But that's actually kind of a pain in the egg if you think about it. I need that and that. Then the bank, when I go to the bank and talk to them and say, hey, I want to send like $10,000 to somebody, who you send this to? Why are you doing that? And then, of course, they get involved. But A. Cole is right. It's a lot easier just to do a transfer. Just getting on those rails sucks. Sui is better than Sol? Perhaps. We're going to find out. The last bull was so much smoother. Oh, yeah. Sure. That's very nice of you. Thank you. No, I'm very old. Let's see. That's why no alt season. There you go. Gen X is the new boomer. It's Mr. Boomer to you. Exactly. That's what's great about being a boomer. It doesn't really matter. Like, I've already done that. Rob, is XRP the ocean or is XRP the sand? For a while, I mean, it was just absorbing everybody's sand. But these days, it's really come back as a tidal wave. And depending on how many partnerships they have and what they can do, it could be a big tsunami. Who knows? Any thoughts on AI products like Fetch? I still think that AI products, the narrative isn't panning out so far, but neither is a lot of things. I still think it has room to run. It's just it's going to be muted, and I don't know if it's going to be muted. It's going to take a while, longer than what I thought. But like I said, this will be my third cycle, and 2020. Gosh, in 2020, I remember this coronavirus coming in, and everybody was talking about how that, first of all, half the population will be dead. And second of all, how that's the end of everything as far as definitely crypto and probably equities. And then it was going to be like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. And that's what people thought for like months and months and months and months. And then all of a sudden, everything corrected itself. It was amazing. And then everybody's like, we're back. And here we are. Bro, I've been in crypto since I can run circles around the millennials. I can't do that. Running circles around anybody is really bad for my knees. Let's see. Fetch is smoked. Oh, now it's going to be a big argument between Gen X and millennials. Fantastic. That's what we want. Oh, yeah. Remember, Yearn Finance, whatever happened to them? They were higher than Bitcoin in price at one time. You should see how much stuff is out there. What about Harmony? Remember Harmony? That was supposed to be the next big thing. Remember EOS? Yeah, that was the way that they were doing airdrops, and it was going to be revolutionize the whole space. Oh, yeah. Remember Luna? Woo! That was the future of finance. Yeah, it's a problem. I think that's it. I think I answered everybody's question. Yeah, good times. Arrow, good one. Wi-Fi, EOS. That's a go. I'll leave it right there. So everybody, thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate you. Just to hang out for 30 minutes and let stresses of the world pass by. But that's it for today. Like today's video, hit the like and subscribe on your way out. But that's it for today. See you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Should be good.